a little history of this nation. There's even a misunderstanding about the intent of our forefathers. Possibly the history books that you studied, I know the ones that I studied have been sanitized. They've been sanitized because school textbook publishers want to print books they can sell. And there are just so many people that don't want to see the full truth in our textbooks that many of them have been sanitized. How many of you know where in the Constitution the phrase separation of church and state is located? Anybody know where?
It's not there.
It's not there. That's right. You're absolutely right. It isn't there. It came from a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote when he was president. There were some rumors that got out while he was running for president that he was an atheist. And then there was a Christian group that was concerned after he got into office, now that he's president, is he going to remove religious freedom? And he wrote back just to assure this particular group that that was not the case. And in fact, he said we have to be sure that there's a wall of separation from the government interfering with religion. Never was there intent of the government keeping religion out. But somehow people have started believing that that's what the Constitution says, and it isn't at all. In fact, it was Thomas Jefferson who said, God who gave us life gave us liberty. And can the liberties of a nation be thought secure when we have removed their only firm basis, a conviction in the minds of the people that these liberties are a gift from God, that they are not to be violated but with his wrath? Indeed, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just and that his justice cannot sleep forever. Thomas Jefferson was worried about that, that people didn't realize the connection, and we're certainly in that position today. Ben Franklin, at the Constitutional Convention, stood up and he said, we have been assured, sir, in the sacred writings that except the Lord build a house, they labor in vain that build it. I firmly believe this, and I also believe that without his concurring aid, we shall succeed in this political building no better than the Towers of Babel. These godly men got together to build a constitution that still is in existence today, never believing that people like us and our leaders in this nation, or some of our leaders in this nation, would believe that it was to be done without God. That was never their intent. In fact, John Madison, who was the father of the U.S. Constitution, said, we have staked the whole future of American civilization not upon the power of government, far from it. We have staked the future of all of our political institutions upon the capacity of mankind for self-government, upon the capacity of each and all of us to govern ourselves, to control ourselves, to sustain ourselves according to the Ten Commandments of God. I mean, why do you think in our Supreme Court you have Moses holding the Ten Commandments over the justices as they sit there? It's because it's clear that our whole governmental system is based on the Ten Commandments. Our whole legal system is. It would be silly to think of anything else. In fact, if you've been to Washington, D.C., it's like a walk through the Bible. Scripture's quoted everywhere. On the top of the Washington Monument, it says, praise be to God. I believe it's in Latin. Now, why would it say that? It says that because our forefathers, as they put this whole thing together, wanted one thing clear, and that is that God would receive the glory. Some of us have sat by idly and allowed others to steal that heritage. And I think it's important that we don't lose sight of that. In fact, in 1892, there was a case that went all the way up to the Supreme Court. There was a Jewish businessman who was irritated about these blue laws. Now, some of you may remember at least part of those blue laws being around. It's when things had to be closed on Sunday because it was the Sabbath. Well, this Jewish businessman was a little irritated because that really did not fit into his belief system. He says, my Sabbath is not on Sunday. Why can you make me close? It went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court held to the blue laws. In part of their response, they said, our laws and our institutions must necessarily be based upon the teachings of the Redeemer of mankind. It is impossible that it should be otherwise. And in this sense and to this extent, our civilization and our institutions are emphatically Christian. Now, I'm not trying to tell you that today's Supreme Court, even with our president's last two nominations, they would probably not say that. The reason I bring this 1892 ruling was because you need to understand that from the beginning, That's the way it was. That's what our forefathers intended. That was what the Constitution was trying to protect. It was not trying to protect our people from religion. It was trying to protect our people's religion. And that makes a real big difference.